and it's rather difficult to understand what Vladimir Putin wants. We can only guess what he wants. There are no democratic procedures. He wanted to secure his rule when he unleashed this war, but since his system is especially ineffective, it has no feedback. He made a lot of mistakes and based his decision to unleash this war on a lot of mistakes. I don't think that he would have unleashed it if he could foresee what we have now. But he overestimated Russian army, he underestimated Ukrainian people, Ukrainian state and Ukrainian army, and he underestimated the reaction of the world. A part of the fault, I would say so, is on the democratic community, because after 2014 they haven't reacted strongly enough. So Putin considered that he will not be punished if he unleashed full-fledged war. He could not unleash this war if he hasn't cracked down on Russian civil society, if he hadn't suppressed all the freedoms and human rights, and Russian human rights defenders, Russian democratic opposition tried to attract attention to this problem, because anyway this violated even formal obligations of Russian Federation. But there is a very tight connection between human rights violations inside the country and prospects of external aggression. He probably had some ideological reasons. According to his speech, we can see that he really thinks that he is chosen to restore greatness of Russia. Actually, he somehow believes to his own propaganda. He doesn't believe that there are real principles in the world, only interests. He believes that the force rules. He believes that the state is much more important than personal interest and personal destiny of the people. He is very similar authoritarian regimes leaders 20th century. It's something accidental that he constantly cites Russian philosopher, actually Russian fascist philosopher Ivan Ilyin. Speeches today literally repeat what Goebbels or Hitler were speaking during the Second World War and in advance of Second World War. For sure, he wanted to conquer Ukraine somehow. Not obligatory military, it would be probably enough if he is able to make it controlled state, to put somebody dependent in the president's chair, but now he cannot back down, I think. He is not ready to back down, but he is not able to win. It's a dramatical situation. Now it's rather difficult to foresee what he wants to do in this situation. And as for the second question about whether Russia is able to become a democracy, I'm sure yes. Russia, according to all the research of motivation, values and so on, is a European country. Each time we failed, unfortunately. But our people got some historical experience each time. He could rule for a long time if he hadn't unleashed this war. Now it's very difficult to predict anything, but for sure 20 years of experience in non-democratic structure, anti-liberal propaganda cannot be fruitless. For sure, there are a lot of people who, in spite of all of this, understand what democracy is. They share democratic values. Nobel Prize Memorial received today is an award to this part of Russian society, to those who, in spite of conformist majority, continue to fight for liberal values, for human rights, for democracy, and we cannot foresee distant exact scenario how the change will come. It depends on what kind of defeat Putin will suffer in Ukraine. Strata of Russian population who now do not support the war but agree with it. Conformist majority of Russian population changed their views sufficiently, but whether they will be active enough to publicly protest, it's difficult to foresee, because actually we have very consolidated repressive machine, but there is a probability that these people will come to the streets and somebody in elites will decide that it's favorable to change the course at the moment, but we can only guess. There are too many probabilities and the future is dark. But generally, I'm sure that Russia will be a democratic, prosperous state.